Ladies and gents, girls and boys, how you doing today? Danny Stewart for BassJapanDirect.com with another Naked Sound review, and today I've got this fresher and this is from the mid-70s, and it plays nicely. It sounds good. It's, the neck is extremely well made. It's an excellent neck. I think the neck is comparable to the higher grade ones that they made in the early 80s, which had the gold and black logo. This is just the black cursive logo. This is mid-70s, mid to late 70s, probably 1976, this one, I think. And the early 70s ones were they started out as an entry level market bass, produced by Kyowa Shokai, and I believe made at the Chushingaki factory. A bit like, and that was one of Kyowa Shokai's cheaper brands at the time, but they kind of developed it over the decade into the early 80s, and then finally it got discontinued in the early 80s, sadly. I like the early 80s fresher very much. They're very good quality. I think there wasn't much difference between them and say Greco, for example, or Fernandez of the same era. But the name just wasn't really, I don't think it was catching on. And I think what's behind the name, Fresher, by the way, is that they're trying to sound a little bit like Fender to the Japanese market, so that Japanese people can sort of feel like they got something close to a Fender. They do that with a lot of things, like Gibbon, which sounds like Gibson. They even copied the typeface, and things like Tender as well, another one that's trying to sound like Fender, and they even copied the logo. So there's a lot of that going on back in the day of the lawsuit eras. But yeah, I think it sounds good. Rear pickup, as I said. Yeah, it's nice. 70s position pickups, and the pickups, I think they're a ceramic type. They sound a little bit, they're not quite as warm as Alnico, and the output isn't quite as high. They sound a little bit more brittle. Still, it's quite a nice rear pickup sound, but that's with the tone all the way down, you see. If I turn the tone all the way up, see what I mean? But it plays well, nice action. It achieves 1.5 millimeters without any problems. The truss is very strong. It still chokes out. It's a very well made neck. It's maple on maple. As you can see, it's got the 70s block and binding look, which is very nice. It's got a bone nut. It's a real bone nut. And it's got a thin C grip for its profile. The nut is 38 millimeters. And it's got full-size tuning pegs, clover key. They're cast, not plate. So it's cast, probably nickel. These ones, they work well, and its weight is not that heavy. It's relatively lightweight, 4.2 kilograms or so. This one is. The body is. Let's go balance now. tone up. And the body is multi-part Asian mahogany and agathis, and then that's topped off on the front and rear actually of the body with what I think is it's either maple or camphor. It looks like camphor to me. That graining does, but it looks like it's made out of one piece of wood as a result. It looks pretty nice actually. It's certainly a good looking bass. I love the pick guard. It's got these gorgeous marbling swirls in it. It's so much better than some of the pick guards you get now. I love these vintage pick guards. So yeah, it's a good looking bass. It's in really good condition for the year. I would say excellent for the year. Does have a chip here and or there, a few scratches, but I mean for something from the mid 70s, it's really excellent. I think you know. And yeah, price wise, it's extremely reasonable. We've got this up for what is it now, $400 on our Shopify store. So, and that's linked in the video description. And you can also, you'll see now on YouTube, I've got my Shopify completely integrated. You can actually just go right into the store there and see what else is available directly from my Shopify. But yeah, this is it's a really good buy. So like I said, that's with the tone all the way up. And it's a nice sound, balanced. Very nice. And then the front pickup, we'll go with the tone down, do a bit of fingerstyle. It's nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's a really nice sounding instrument. That's with the tone down. Let's go with the tone up. So I mean, even on the front pickup, sounds quite nice and throaty, and it works for various styles of playing. There's lots of room to go up and down on the bridge. I believe that's a steel bridge with steel saddles. Works very well. Yeah, I mean, all in all, it's a good instrument. It sounds quite nice. I think with the Alnico pickups, it would sound even better, but you know, I think that's part of the reason why its price was a little bit lower than the ones that they came up with in the 80s, which did have Alnico pickups in them. But the neck is of the same kind of quality, and the body is, yeah, it's multi-part. Like the ones that they did in the 80s were a little bit higher grade, and the price was a bit higher as well. As a result, like they had like maybe a 3-piece body or something. It was sort of like on a par, like I said, with the Grecos of that era, sort of like you know, 45,000 yen, 50,000 yen, that sort of price bracket. Whereas these were a bit lower. I think this was like 40,000 yen. This is like a 40, and then the one below it was like 35,000 yen or something. So, you know, but the cheapest ones were the very early ones in the early 70s, and those were like 32,000 yen or something at the time. But the thing about Thresher is it doesn't matter which one, all the necks were very, very good. Even the early 70s ones had great necks with very solid construction, very reliable. They're a bit chunky though, the very early ones. This is certainly much better than the early 70s in terms of the profile. So it's interesting to see the evolution of the Thresher brand until it sort of just died off. I think it was only around for 10 years. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff for sure. I always get Thresher in when I can because I know that they're reliable, solid builds. All right, guys, that'll do it. If you're interested in getting this, again, it's linked below in the description. And again, just remind you that you can now you can scroll through a bunch of my listings on my Shopify directly here in YouTube. It's really useful. So, all right, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you again for the next sound review. Cheers.